vision or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Pete Fitz, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from current issues of the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Fredonia keeps public comments at meetings. An article by Jim Stafford. Fredonia Mayor Michael Ferguson missed criticism of his idea to halt public comments at Fredonia trustees meetings. However, he is apparently dropping the idea for now. Ferguson called the Observer ahead of Tuesday's Board of Trustees meeting and stated that he is not planning on pushing his stance too hard. The mayor also said he would be skipping the meeting because he has a nasty contagious virus, not because he fears criticism of his idea. He told the Observer that he is unlikely to insist that trustees cut off public comments. It's the trustees who ultimately decide the structure of public comments at meetings, not Ferguson. Toward the end of the comment session Tuesday, that was spirited and spicy despite Ferguson's absence, trustees voted 3-2 to reaffirm the 3-minute limit on speakers. 7 people wound up speaking at Tuesday's meeting. Most of them criticized the village for even considering a cutoff of comments. First to speak was Helen Ihas, who said, "Please do not take away our right to speak at meetings, especially since this has become an issue because of a few people. Making everyone suffer because of the actions of a few is not right." She suggested that non-Fredonians not be allowed to speak, and that people who blow past the time limit get prevented from speaking in the future. She continued, "If someone continually speaks out of turn or talks over others or is rude or nasty, give them one warning. If they continue, have them removed from the meeting and don't allow them to come back for a length of time determined by you. This is a consequence for not following rules." Ihas opined, "There is no reason for the same people to use their time to speak over and over again as a way to grandstand, berate the mayor and board so everyone can see them on TV and get their name in the paper. I, for one, am very tired of it." Former trustees James Linden and Michelle Twitchell returned to the podium to criticize Ferguson's proposal. Twitchell quoted the village charter to remind trustees that they determine rules of conduct for meetings. She also reminded them that the previous Board of Trustees passed a rules of conduct resolution in April of 2018. Censorship and attempted silencing of the public opinion or viewpoint is a very serious issue. This mayor once again made public statements of retaliation, this time with an aggressive action of wishing to eliminate the public portion of all village board meetings as long as he is in office. He echoed Twitchell in saying that, this is Linden speaking, by the way, sorry. Linden echoed Twitchell in saying the board should follow its 2018 Code of Conduct resolution, preserving the public's right to speak. He lost his place at one point, inadvertently wasting a few seconds. He moved on to other village issues, and trustees held strictly to the 3-minute rule asking him to leave the podium. They did request and received the rest of his statements. Former village attorney Samuel Dreo said the time limits should be bent when necessary for the good of the village, if the subject matter was of high importance. Dreo went on about other issues and tried to speak past the 3-minute mark. You know, when you come in here, you have 3 minutes. You know, if you want to speak for 10 minutes, write a letter and the clerk will read it, said Trustee John Esperson, running the meeting in Ferguson's absence. You can make exceptions. They're made all the time. I have some good and important information for the board. Why do you want to deny me that? Dreo asked. He said the entire board, not Esperson, should decide to remove him from the podium. I want you to have 3 minutes like everyone else has, Esperson responded. Cheryl Balin, who spoke earlier on other issues, jumped up to defend Dreo. You're not allowed to speak right now, said Hayes. I'm allowed to speak right now. This is a public meeting. All this garbage needs to stop, Balin said. Just sit down and be quiet, Hayes said. The arguing continued with Dreo asking again for permission to speak a couple of more minutes. Why does it have to be 3 minutes? Why can't it be 10 minutes? This room is not full, Balin said. Commotion filled the room, multiple people talking over each other until Trustee Ben Brackler loudly declared, resolved that effective immediately, please be silent, and until the end of this fiscal year. The public portion is limited to 3 minutes maximum. If anyone wants more time, send a letter to the board. Trustees Paul Wendell, Brockler, and Esperson voted for the resolution. Trustees Christine Cruz, Keefe, and Leanne Lazzaroni voted against it. Brockler stated the 3-minute rule would be for everyone, declaring that an exception allowing 5 minutes for someone speaking for a group is no longer valid. After that dust-up ended, one of the final speaker, Jefferson Westwood, said Fredonia should maintain the public comment portions of its meetings. I would like you to seriously consider the possibility that someone may have very helpful, important, thoughtful ideas for you to consider, Westwood said. Bradford Hospital moving to outpatient care center by John DeAgostino. Another rural hospital is downsizing operations from patient emergency and long-term care services to ambulatory and outpatient model. On Tuesday afternoon, the Bradford Regional Medical Center submitted a formal closure notice to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to transition the Kaleida Health facility to a model that will continue to provide essential services for the community with a focus on primary care and specialty clinics. Federal funding cuts and long-standing financial pressures across the healthcare industry have accelerated the challenges we face and the decisions we are considering or have already made, said Don Boyd, President and CEO of Kaleida Health. In a news release, hospital officials said the region's declining population and severely reduced patient census that was already minimal in 2019 combined to create financial losses averaging $10.1 million each year since 2021. The transition is expected to be completed in the summer, pending Pennsylvania Department of Health approval. Officials said the closure notice primarily affects the 20-bed inpatient unit, where the average daily census is fewer than one patient per day in 2026, and inpatient utilization has declined by 73% since 2019. Due to regulatory limitations, the notice must also include the emergency department and certain hospital-based services, as well as the Pavilion, Bradford Regional Medical Center's 95-bed long-term care facility. The patient census at the Pavilion is 54, and with 2 other long-term care options in Bradford and 6 others in the area, it's anticipated these patients will be able to smoothly relocate for continued care. Affected employees among 238 working on the campus will have opportunities to transition into other positions within Kaleida Health. Kaleida Health will work with all patients and residents to ensure a safe and seamless transition of care. Last year, Kaleida Health launched a $200 million strategic plan designed to enhance patient care, strengthen the organization's long-term sustainability, and expand access to the care and services of our community needs most. Under this strategic plan, facilities whose service are not utilized as they once were and therefore face revenue declines must be evaluated as part of the whole system's needs and sustainability. The $200 million plan gives us the opportunity to evaluate and reimagine how and where we provide the care and services our communities need most, while doing so in the most efficient and effective way, Boyd said. Like other healthcare organizations, we must adapt and find innovative ways to move forward and continue delivering exceptional care. Pending Pennsylvania Department of Health approval, Bradford Hospital anticipates continuing operation of its primary care offices and select specialty outpatient clinics, including cardiology, medical oncology, pediatrics, general surgery, and wound care, orthopedics, and sports medicine, occupational health, women's health, urology, and a lab draw station. Within the last decade, rural hospitals have faced growing pressures due to changing landscape of facing healthcare. In January, Warren General Hospital announced it would suspend inpatient labor and delivery procedures. Before that, in January of 2025, Allegheny Health and Westfield Memorial Hospital in Chautauqua County announced it's moving to a rural emergency hospital designation, meaning it will seek to transition from a small inpatient hospital to 24/7 emergency observation and outpatient care hospital that meets specific criteria established by the U.S. Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services and the New York State Department of Health. The conversion provides greater reimbursement certainty, ensuring its long-term financial and operational stability going forward, and protecting care access for patients in Westfield and surrounding Chautauqua County region. Designated rural emergency hospitals are eligible for additional federal funding and higher Medicare reimbursement rates. A report by the U.S. Department of Agriculture Economic Research Service found that 146 hospitals in rural U.S. counties closed or were converted to non-acute care between 2005 and 2023. Of the 146, 81 shut down completely. The others underwent conversion, a term that describes when a hospital stops providing inpatient services, but still offers services such as primary and outpatient care or treatment of emergency cases. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. SUNY announces partnership with State Future Farmers of America. SUNY Chancellor John B. King Jr. Wednesday announced the partnership between SUNY and the New York State Future Farmers of America. King also announced the launch of a new website, suny.edu/agriculture, which will help prospective students learn more about agricultural focused courses available at SUNY campuses throughout New York State. Through the partnership, New York State will share information on agricultural programs and SUNY institutions with middle and high school students throughout New York State, including through linking the new SUNY website with the New York NYSFFA.org, and by sending regular updates about SUNY agricultural focused courses and activities to K through 12 educators involved with New York State Future Farmers of America. SUNY is a state leader in strengthening and supporting New York's robust agricultural sector and preparing the ag tech workforce for the future, King said. The partnership with New York State FFA will help ensure more New York students are informed about affordable, excellent agricultural education available at SUNY institution of their dreams. We are proud to work with FFA to provide students with the opportunity to explore a degree program that interests them so they can succeed in the future. New York State Future Farmers of America is a youth organization that helps middle school and high school students become leaders in a variety of fields, including agriculture. The New York State Future Farmers of America develops premier leadership, personal growth, and career success through activities and opportunities nationwide. The partnership between SUNY and FFA will inform prospective high school and middle school students about the agriculture and other related programs available at SUNY institutions across New York State. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture's 2022 Census of Agriculture, there are 30,650 farms in New York State, with farmland comprising 21.6% of the state's area. In 2022, farming contributed $2.7 billion to New York State's gross domestic product, and farming and related businesses directly support nearly 165,000 jobs in New York State. New York State FFA Director Julia Tolosky said, FFA started as Future Farmers of America, so future is our first name. Looking back, it's easy to see how the demand for agriculture has grown, and so have the significant rewarding careers that deliver on the promises that started on the small farms and continue in agribusiness of all kinds. Looking forward, we know education and credentialing is an essential part of the path our 13,500 students will take to move from curiosity to career. I'm proud that New York emphasis on education and every student's access to it. I'm excited to see SUNY's commitment to making it clearer than ever for students to discover just how many campuses offer coursework in agricultural food systems or natural resources. Whether it's a major or single course, a student chooses to empower their own future. New York's commitment to agricultural education shows we all share the same commitment to tomorrow. SUNY has more than 7,500 students enrolled in agriculture and other related programs across New York State, including agribusiness management to equine science, environmental science, viticulture, veterinary science, and food systems and technology. Each year, more than 1,300 students graduate from agricultural and other related programs. Agricultural innovations being researched in SUNY system include climate protections like carbon sequestration and agrivoltaics research, robotic deployments, invasive species and pest control practices, and farm-based data collection and research. SUNY has worked to expand opportunities for students to pursue agriculture and support New York farmers. Townsend's battery storage hearing. The town of Dunkirk has specifically not rushed into making decisions on local laws as evidenced by the short-term rental property saga that went on for several years. The town is again being very deliberate in its latest matter of public concern regarding a local law pertaining to battery energy storage systems. Following a moratorium enacted this past year, the town of Dunkirk has scheduled a public hearing for Tuesday, March 3rd at 5 p.m. to field comments from the public regarding the extension of a moratorium on battery energy storage systems, as well as other projects similar in nature. Following the public hearing, a special meeting will be held for the town board to take action should it deem necessary. The town is considering extending the moratorium set to expire later next month for another 6 months. The extension is sought to allow for more time to draft a law regarding battery energy systems. The town recently held a workshop on the matter, and another workshop is scheduled for Thursday, March 26th at 5:30 p.m. to continue crafting local law. A major concern regarding battery energy storage systems is fire protection. Supervisor Sherry Miller shared the 2025 annual report from the East Town of Dunkirk volunteer fire company at the recent meeting. Numbers show that the volunteer department, which recently celebrated its 75th anniversary, is plenty busy already. The East Town of Dunkirk Volunteer Fire Company responded to 366 calls in 2025, an average of a call every day for the entire year. I could not believe how often the fire whistle went off, Miller said. She later added, for a volunteer fire department where nobody there is paid, they are doing a fantastic job. I really appreciate everything they do. Also of note, in 2025, the town of Dunkirk Justice Court handled 2,882 cases, including over 2,500 vehicle and traffic law cases, 175 penal law cases, 135 suspensions, 8 civil law cases, and 24 local law cases. In total, the Justice Court generated $247,652 in revenue for the town. For the month of January, the Justice Court handled a total of 159 cases, with $14,061 generated in revenue for the town. The town clerk's office collected $1,893 in the month of January, including $750 in clerk fees and over $1,000 in zoning fees. The town also received a quarterly sales tax revenue, which amounted to $111,302. The sales tax revenue is distributed 60% to the town's general fund and 40% to the highway department. Following the special meeting on March 3rd, the next regular meeting of the Dunkirk Town Board is Tuesday, March 17th at 5:30 p.m. Pacos continues to talk consolidation opportunities. Again, this is by M.J. Stafford. Pomfret Town Supervisor Dan Pacos is interested in consolidating services with neighboring communities, but has a lot of questions. Do we need a full-timer? Do we need a part-timer? He wondered during a February Pomfret Town Board meeting about a possible shared dog control service. Where do we house those beasts when we pick them up off the road? How do we split the costs? Paco said that for local government efficiency studies are in the works. One grant is supposed to fund a study on dog control service that would be shared by the towns of Pomfret and Dunkirk, the city of Dunkirk, and the village of Fredonia. The other grant is to fund a study on the Department of Public Works combined between Fredonia and Pomfret. Pacos fears that someone is always going to pay more than they should. That's one reason he wants outside consultants to study the local municipal consolidation. He thinks a neutral, unbiased look at cost splitting is vital to the process. I know there's savings to be had by combining. I just want to make sure the savings just don't go to all of one municipality, he said. There are other possibilities for consolidation beyond animal control and public works, Pacos noted. He mentioned courts and building inspection services. In other business from the February Pomfret Town Board meeting, the town has received yet another proposed floor plan from its engineers for the new town hall on Chestnut Road. Town clerk Samantha Kellogg said it is the 6th floor plan so far. Previous plans were withheld because the state court system apparently frowned on them. Paco said he would let town officials know when and if the state approves the latest plan. Paco said there are 8 property owners who have not contacted the town about easements for work in the Phase 2 water project. He said engineers may be able to directionally drill, in most cases avoiding the properties where easements have not been granted. Nevertheless, we're hoping to try and get a hold of those people. He left open the possibility that the town could use eminent domain proceedings in an attempt to force the easements. Pacos later told the Observer that the properties in question are on Route 20, Berry Road, and Van Buren Road. Town board member Ava Dawn Bashaw said, and Pacos said they are doing a grave research project at Pioneer Cemetery. The duo held up a giant map of the East Main Street Cemetery, the original public burial ground in Fredonia. They are systematically putting names on the graves on the map. They want to scan the map online and link names to short biographies. The more we get into this, the more interesting it gets, Paco said. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Leaders push for energy gas repowering. Ms. Stafford. Advocacy of repowering Dunkirk's energy plant with natural gas brought U.S. Representative Nick Langworthy, State Senator George Borrello, and State Assemblyman Andrew Molitor to the Conservation Club on Friday morning. The trio of Republicans criticized Democrats' energy policies, the wind, solar, nuclear energy priorities of New York Governor Kathy Hochul and her administration, along with a plan advocated by Dunkirk Mayor Kate Dowiaz to repower NRG with nuclear power. NRG, shut down for a decade now, loomed in the background as politicians spoke on the Con Club patio. The energy crisis we're facing in New York cannot be ignored any longer. Millions of New Yorkers cannot afford their home energy bills thanks to the extreme policies of Governor Hochul and legislative Democrats, Langworthy said. He added, you cannot subtract dependable energy from the grid while demanding its surge at the same time and expect costs to go down and reliability to improve. It's just common sense. You need more supply, you need more electricity on the grid. Natural gas is not the enemy, it's the bridge to our energy future. It's reliable, it's accessible, it's abundant, and it's significantly cleaner than legacy fossil fuels. It's a literal lifeline in a cold, brutal winter like we're having now. Pictured with the article are State Senator George Borrello, Congressman Nick Langworthy, and State Assemblyman Andrew Molitor pose at the Conservation Club in Dunkirk on Friday. And they're standing behind a sign that says, "Make our electricity affordable. Repower NRG." He called nuclear energy a strong long-term option, and I support us going into nuclear power business in New York. We need nuclear power plants. The governor's right. We need one. We probably need 6. But the problem is the runway is long. We have to decide on generation technology. From conception to reality, we're looking at least a decade, and that's an optimistic vision. However, Langworthy continued, we can't afford to wait 10, 15, or 20 years for new plants to come online while our grid is under strain right now. That's why we support converting this shuttered Dunkirk plant, this monument to bad policy, repower NRG with natural gas. It can be done. It takes the will of the governor. It takes the will of the legislature It certainly will take the cooperation of the federal government, which I am completely prepared to dig in and help in any way, shape, or form. Borrello recalled when, as a Chautauqua County legislator in 2013, we all packed ourselves into the hotel down the street so that Governor Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, could come here and tell us how we were going to repower this plant. It was going to transform from coal to natural gas, and it was going to continue to generate power for generations to come. But then he succumbed to the radical left, the New York City-based folks in the state legislature who refused to allow this to happen. Borrello soon noted Dunkirk's financial crisis. The plant used to give $10 million in tax revenue. Now it's only a couple of $100,000. Not only have we hamstrung our ability to create energy, we have taken this city and put it in a financial crisis primarily because of bad policy out of Albany. Borrello said that he thinks Hochul understands wind and solar isn't going to cut it here in New York State, and we need other alternatives. But she doesn't have the political will, the spine to stand up to the radicals in the state legislature. Meanwhile, nuclear power is decades away. The solution is right behind us, folks. I was county executive here in Chautauqua County when we commissioned a study. We could get this power plant up and running in 18 months to 2 years with clean natural gas. Molitor expressed frustration that while neighbors such as Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Canada harvest natural gas and use it for safe, clean, and realizable energy generation, New York's virtue signals to the world that it won't use the abundant resources while quietly importing coal power and natural gas from far away. The closure of power plants such as Dunkirk's has caused energy prices to soar across the state, he added. With all the money we spend in New York on ridiculous things, you would think that affordable energy for New Yorkers would be a priority, Molitor concluded. Let's make it happen now. We're calling on you, Governor Hochul, to make this happen. Fiscal Stability Coming at SUNY by John DeAgostino. A report released today by the State University of New York notes fiscal progress for the system as well as local campus at Fredonia. Chancellor John B. King Jr. said the report highlights a year of progress and momentum as SUNY's long-term enrollment and sustainability continue to trend upward, making significant achievements in supporting students and strengthening the state with 3 years of enrollment gains coupled with historic increases in New York State operating aid. SUNY is one of the on-the-move and expanding programs and initiatives to support our students and campuses throughout New York State, he said. By following our comprehensive plan and through the strong support and commitment from Governor Hochul, the state legislature, and the SUNY Board of Trustees, SUNY is delivering on our promise of an affordable and high-quality higher education for all New Yorkers. The audience responded with pride and enthusiastic support. They also received messages from guest speakers who shared their journeys and stories of hope and resilience, including Michael Blake, who is a former state assemblyman. The conference gave them invaluable opportunities to develop leadership skills. They built confidence in public speaking and connected with peers from across the state. The students heard from the role models who have walked similar paths to support their goals and dreams. Borello and Langworthy, excuse me, Tout Control Board by M.J. Stafford. State Senator George Borello and U.S. Rep. Nick Langworthy continued advocating for the City of Dunkirk Control Board on Friday. Borello and Langworthy joined State Assemblyman Andrew Molitor at the Conservation Club to advocate a natural gas repowering of energy plant. They took off-topic questions, and the Observer asked their latest thoughts on Dunkirk's financial situation. Borello reminded that we have a piece of legislation that we've had since last year, the Assemblyman and I, to create a financial control board, a third-party group that will oversee the finances and be able to lift Dunkirk, I believe, out of this crisis. Dunkirk Mayor Kate Wadowiaz recently offered counter-proposal for a regional control board. She never actually approached me on this. Was just a soundbite from her. Borello said, "The reality is Dunkirk's situation is unique. Even the office of the state comptroller, they're beside themselves with frustration because they can't even get a handle as to what the real financial situation is in the city." He added, if any place anywhere in the world needs a control board, the city of Dunkirk does right now. Borello said he was hopeful that the people of Dunkirk will speak up and demand a control board. The bottom line goal is to restore Dunkirk residents' confidence in their government, he said. Langworthy said he urged Wadowiaz to back the control board. He referred to the recent indictment of former city treasurer Mark Woods for allegedly stealing $120,000. A lot of things go back many years, and now we've seen an unfortunate indictment and a breach of public trust, Langworthy said. Dunkirk needs some adult supervision here, and we need some professionals to come in and analyze what's happened, pave a way going forward. Taxpayers suffer the consequences of Dunkirk's bad financial management, he continued. Some of this probably could have been predictable the day they shut energy down, that this was coming down the tracks. Langworthy concluded that Dunkirk is not going to get out of its tough situation without some tough decision-making. A control board did that for the city of Buffalo when it was in deep crisis. I think it would really be a smart decision to put the politics aside for some people and embrace what's needed for the taxpayers here. I agree. I couldn't say it better myself, Molitor said, as his only comment. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Dunkirk Observer on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Now for a different look. Climate reviews Upper Road solar project changes. As work continues on solar projects in the town of Clymer, some changes have been needed to be made for the project set for Upper Road, and the town board was recently presented with those changes. The project, formerly known as the RIC Energy Project, is now under McKinstry Generate Capital as of July. And at a February town board meeting, members of the team presented to the town via a Zoom session on some specific changes to the project, mostly minor in nature. Representative with Generate Capital said that while it has been a while since the town has heard anything on the project, they have been hard at work, including partnering with McKinstry, who will be constructing the project. The biggest change the company is having to make to the project that has already been presented to the board is moving the driveway because of a request from National Grid. In talking with National Grid about the project, they came on site and saw a portion of the driveway actually goes under a fairly high line, and it crosses the easement of the south transmission line with the representative set. So they requested that we move the driveway east by 20 feet, and in doing that, the wire distance increased, and we're not allowed to have trees under that wire. They added, this is all new information, that RIC Energy would not have been able to obtain until this point in the project. Generate Capital presented the town with some visual representations of the change as required by National Grid, including the approved landscape plan and proposed adjustment. The screening is the same, and it is said that they are required to stay 37 feet back from either side of the high line that was found by National Grid. So the driveway needs to be extended and 2 additional poles added. No landscape screening is allowed to be in the way of those poles. Town Supervisor Brian Willink said he knew changes have been looked at by the town engineer as well, and asked about a connection between the two companies, McKinstry's and Generate Capital. Representatives gave a brief background on Generate Capital, which will be the owner and operator of the project, providing the financing, and McKinstry will be the engineers building the project. It was noted that some minor design changes may be made on the RIC design for the solar panels themselves, and that responses to the town engineer with her questions should be given soon. National Grid has also been consulted about the new plan on the town side of the project. Needs to go through engineering and legal, and Willink said, though, through an email from the town's engineer, it is indicated that this will be a relatively minor change. We still have to wait for the final approval for us to go forward with any type of approval here, Willink said. So that's kind of where it is. The next phase for the company is a lengthy approval process with National Grid. So they would be looking for approval from the town before advancing with that. And it was noted that the discussion now has to make sure that the town could weigh in. The panels themselves will still be hidden behind the hill, and the overall scope of the project will not be extended. Representative said these will just be some minor adjustments. The town will put approval on their agenda for following confirmation of approval from the town engineering and legal teams. Stepping it up. DOT sidewalks project nearing start in Silver Creek. There's a picture of Brian Dankert, project manager, presenting a new New York State Department of Transportation plan to the village of Silver Creek at a meeting in the fall of 2024. This has taken a while. And there's also a picture of a aerial view of an intersection or two roadways and cross. Anyway, so the project is nearing a start. Silver Creek, the village of Silver Creek will undergo significant construction in the coming months with an eye on becoming a more walkable community moving forward. A New York State Department of Transportation project spanning across the village of Silver Creek, the town of Hanover, and the town of Sheridan, including portions of Route 20 and Route 5, is set to proceed. The DOT project, classified as project number 5112.01, is focused on pavement rehabilitation, sign installation, curb ramps, and drainage repairs. The project will bring roughly 100 sidewalks and ramps up to date with ADA compliance. Village trustee Bill Barnes recently spoke with representative from D&H Excavating, who was awarded the contract for the project. Barnes shared with the village board that he will work will begin in mid-March, weather permitting, a tentative date for completion around Thanksgiving. The village is going to be a mess for a while, Barnes said. He stated that the project totals roughly $7 million worth of work from routes 5 and 20 split to the Walnut Creek Bridge. A major area of focus in the project is Main Street and Central Avenue intersection in the village. A curb ramp at that intersection of Central Avenue and Howard Street and its southwest corner is also set to be installed. The project is focused on accommodating pedestrians to provide a more walkable community for the roads themselves. Brian Dankert, project manager, stated that the new pavement surface could last 10 to 15 years. With a career in construction himself, Barnes noted that D&H Excavating handled the roundabout in Fredonia. I've done a few jobs with them. They know what they're doing, and they're very good. Hopefully everything goes smoothly, Barnes said. Also, the recent village board meeting, village trustee Sandra Lindstrom expressed appreciation for the Village Department of Public Works for their efforts this winter in keeping the road clear, as well as for Silver Creek Fire Department and Emergency Squad for all the calls they responded to each month. The siren goes off constantly, Lindstrom said. I do appreciate everything that you guys do. A secondary contract with the Chautauqua County Humane Society was approved by the village board for the care of dogs. The village primary contact for dog control services is Timothy Christian, who serves as dog control officer for both the village and the town of Hanover. The Silver Creek Hanover Garden Club, it was approved to use the village ballpark and pavilion on May 15th from 4 to 7 p.m. and May 16th from 6 a.m. until 5 p.m. for the 16th annual garden fair. For more information, follow the Silver Creek Hanover Garden Club on Facebook. The next mobile food pantry event, sponsored by Silver Creek Food Pantry, the Village of Silver Creek, and the Feed More Western New York, will be today, which was the 24th of February, from 11 a.m. till 12:30 p.m. at the Village Municipal Parking Lot. The event was free of charge to residents of Silver Creek and other nearby communities. The village appreciates and welcomes all volunteers. The next meeting of Silver Creek Village Board is scheduled for Monday, March 2nd at 7 p.m. at the Village Hall. FDA proposes new approval for drugs and therapies. Washington federal health officials on Monday laid out a proposal to spur development customized treatments for patients with hard-to-treat diseases, including for rare genetic conditions that the pharmaceutical industry has long considered unprofitable. The preliminary Food and Drug Administration guidelines, if implemented, would create a new pathway for bespoke therapies that have only been tested in a handful of patients due to the challenges of conducting larger studies. The FDA announcement specifically mentions gene editing, although agency officials said the new approach could also be used by other drugs and therapies. It's a shift long sought by patients, advocates, and researchers focused on rare diseases which often do not fit within the pharmaceutical industry's business model or the FDA's traditional drug approval system. It is our priority to remove barriers and exercise regulatory flexibility to encourage scientific advances and deliver more cures and meaningful treatments for patients suffering from rare diseases. FDA Commissioner Marty McCary said in a release. The announcement comes a week after McCary said the FDA would drop decades-old standard of requiring 2 clinical trials for standard drug reviews. That was the latest in a series of changes to FDA norms and standards, many of which have not gone through federal procedures traditionally used to operate agency rules. Senior FDA officials said the recent changes, including the pathway proposed Monday, don't constitute new FDA standards. The FDA will take comments on its draft guidance for 60 days before beginning to finalize it. In recent years, academic researchers have shown they can use emerging technology to correct individual defects in patients' genetic code. Last year, a team at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and the University of Pennsylvania designed a therapy using CRISPR, which is the Nobel Prize-winning gene editing tool, to treat a baby born with a rare disease that causes ammonia to build up in the blood. Traditionally, the FDA requires drug makers to demonstrate the safety and effectiveness of their experimental treatments and clinical trials that compare a set of patients getting the drug therapy against those who are not having the intervention, more controlled things, both for conditions that can affect a tiny fraction of the people and those greater problems. I'd like to, pardon me for that noise. You've been listening to a reading of articles and features from the current issues of the Dunkirk Observer. We read from the Dunkirk Observer every Saturday at noon. Your reader has been P. Fitz. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have a reading of our Northtown Bee papers, which includes Amherst, Clarence, Cheektowaga, Depew, and Lancaster. At 2 o'clock, we have our Southtown papers, which is the Orchard Park Bee, East Aurora Bee, West Seneca Bee, and Hamburg Sun. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.